All right, guys, welcome to our live show. Very excited, honored to have Philly Simonetta in the house. What's going on, buddy?
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, so, we were talking about on one of his Philly trips, getting him to stop by, so it's kind of exciting. It's fun to meet you face to face. And we're going to dive in. Guys, we will take your questions also. Today we're talking about the Florida housing market. It is in bad shape. And we're going to go over stats. We're going to show you some things. Phil's going to bring us up to speed on what's happening. And we're actually dead here too. It's funny because I was talking with one of my agents, one of my old agents that had moved to Florida and just got his license. He's with, I forget who he went with, but he's down in St. Pete, I think. Mm-hmm. And anyway, I talked to him yesterday and he said, what's happening in Maryland? What's the Maryland housing market like? And I said, well, it sucks. It's dead. I mean, it's like, put a fork in it, or it's done. Yeah. And we're seeing price reductions in cities that, like Columbia and Ellicott City, and homes sitting on the market that would have never sat on the market and for a couple days, let alone now we're seeing 30, 45, 60 days on the market. But we're going to clear some things up because one of the things that he said, well, I heard that Maryland was hot. And I said, really? Who told you that? And he told me, and I said, send me their information. I'm going to look them up. So I looked them up and they're not hot at all. In fact, they're like, they'll be lucky if they make a living this year.
Yeah.
And where they were very high, 7 million something in sales. I mean, that's pretty decent, good for an average agent, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And 7 million in gross sales in a year. They weren't even at 1.6 this year, and we're already halfway through. Wow. So I call bullshit, and that's one of the reasons why, and this, that people don't like real estate agents is because they bullshit, right? They lie, right? And sometimes I guess in their sales training. And it's not just real estate agents. I think it's salespeople in general is just to tell everybody the business is always great.
Listen,
I think
real estate agents are taught to fake it until they make it.
Yeah.
From day one.
Right, but this person had made it, but the fact of the matter is, and this is why it's important that we have these broker-to-broker kind of shows where we talk to the public and tell them what's really going on, because this is one of the reasons why, number one, they don't like real estate agents, people generally, right? And they say they're like used car salesmen. And number two, the other thing is this cheerleading is not sitting well with the buyers, so they're deciding that they're going to just maybe even do business without an agent altogether.
A lot of people.
Yeah. So stop BSing if you're out there. Let's talk about, and you're an agent listening, let's talk about what's really going on, okay? But Phil, welcome, man. So just for everybody that doesn't know who you are, just kind of tell them.
Yeah. My name's Philip Simonetta. I'm the broker owner of Pier 21 Realty. I also own the Florida Real Estate School by Pier 21 Realty. So we're licensed a real estate school in Florida, and our brokerage is licensed in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Shortly, New Jersey and Pennsylvania. We're in the process of that as well. My business is real estate, but I'm also invested in nightclubs and restaurants all of my life, pizza businesses. So I am diversified, but real estate is the heart of my whole operation. I'm just in the process now of getting my mortgage loan originator license because I'm so stressed out and tired.
Because you're a glutton for punishment.
No, it's actually going to make life easier, man. It's going to make life easier because with a RESPA agreement, I'll be able to represent buyers, represent the financing, represent the whole transaction. Yeah. Because I'm sick of people dropping the ball. Yeah. I'm sick of incompetencies. And, I'm just tired of it. And when I'm sending people out and they're dropping balls, and it makes me look bad. I should have done this 20 years ago. I just didn't, and especially now, everything's consolidating.
Yeah, well, we're going to see it. Well, we just said our MLS now, I'll be able to see all the way to Florida, hopefully. And you can see all the way down here and even to New Jersey and Philly and everywhere that the Bright MLS. What's the
Stellar? Stellar and Bright merge. So now we'll be able to see each other's information.
Right.
Even if you're not, normally you had to be licensed in the area, but they're consolidated. So I
can really look agents up.
We get South America. Like if you go into the Miami or Fort Lauderdale MLS, you got Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico's in Stellar. You're going to have that. Yeah. But you got Colombia and there's other countries in South America that are on the beaches MLS.
Nice.
Can't do anything without a license, but
let's talk Florida.
Yeah, man.
All right. Is it getting better?
It's not getting better. It's getting worse, man.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, it's getting worse. Buyers are nowhere. The influx, I mean, I don't care what people are saying, what these analysts say. You know, they're all talking. They're talking heads. You know, they're trying to get clicks and views and things like that. Buyers are dead. The only people that I'm dealing with are people in situations, divorce situations, where they need to buy something. I have a deal closing July 21st. Woman's divorced. She's been renting. She needs to buy a place. You know, her retirement starting. We ended up finding a place. They wanted $349. Okay, we put the offer in at $300. They accepted it. And then after the inspection, there were some things that needed to be done. We got another $5,000 off.
So you're 15% off.
Right. And then the appraisal came in. The appraisal came in at $342. Now, the appraisals aren't keeping up. You know, the appraisals aren't keeping up with the drop.
Well, they will be because that's a new comparable.
Yeah,
so
well,
that is
that's exactly what
the community.
It's starting.
Yeah,
it's starting.
And it wasn't distressed.
Not distressed. It's turnkey. Turnkey. 7-year-old unit.
Wow.
I mean, it's turnkey.
Well, we're going to go over, Phil. I have some questions to ask you about, and Phil frequents our show. It's a nice gap to bridge as we're tracking the East Coast, but the South or the Sun Belt seems to be what's taking the biggest hit so far. I just did a video on the Northeast and showed where that is slowing as well. And what we're seeing now is that because the data is lagging. So when we're looking at sales data today, when it closes, that was something that went under contract 30, 45, 60 days prior. So we're now starting to see this. And that's why we can't give you more accurate data, because the agent is not allowed to disclose what the seller accepted until it actually settles, because it's really contingent all the way up until everybody gets up away from the settlement table, keys are exchanged, money is exchanged,
money's wired.
And what happens is if it does fall through, which a lot of deals are right now, majorly, a lot of back to actives, at least locally here, it would really give up the seller's rights by saying, hey, they accepted this offer. Correct. They would probably accept that again. It's probably less than what they listed it for. But let's see, Joe, do we have any? We're going to take your questions. You have a question for Phil or myself, just go ahead, comment that question in the live chat. Daniel, thanks for your comment. Do you guys think the insurance crisis in Florida will cause a significant correction in the Florida housing market, Phil?
Yeah, the insurance crisis has already affected it. However, the public isn't aware. Over the last 12 to 18 months, there's been some laws passed, and in the last 18 months, I think about 30 insurers came back to the state because they started to eliminate the frivolous lawsuits. So what they're defining as a frivolous lawsuit, I'm not 100% on, but there were a lot of lawsuits that were pending that this new law erases.
So the homeowners were suing the insurance companies.
Well, the homeowners were screwing the insurance companies because what was happening, okay, somebody had a leak in the roof. These insurance adjusters were coming out, expanding on what's going on, and they were getting whole new roofs when roofs weren't needed. This was happening for years. This is one of the big things that pushed the insurance companies out. So now the insurance companies have a little bit more rights because of these new laws.
Well, what are they suing them for?
They get a new roof. They get a whole new roof when there's damage that doesn't require a whole new roof. It's the adjusters were working the laws and the policies, and they were replacing roofs. And the adjusters were making a lot of bank on that because roofers, adjusters, they were just after a storm going through, or even before the storm's going through. And a lot of that was going on. I don't understand. Everything is documented. There's insurance claims. Everything's documented in computer systems. You know what companies were doing it. You know what roofing companies were there, what insurance companies, what adjusters were there. I don't understand why they don't just go back and see who was doing this over and over again.
Well, the bottom line is if they had roof damage and So if it was fraud, then you go after the person that told the homeowner
that was the adjusters, but nothing's being done.
That it had, right. Well, I know what's happening here of a friend of mine that just sold his insurance business.
Yeah.
And he said, one of the reasons why he sold, by the way, was because he wasn't making any money.
Yeah.
It's very hard now for insurance companies to, that write policies to make money.
I know.
And the clawbacks. So if the big money is going after workers' comp and those kinds of things for businesses, writing those policies. But if at the end of the year, if their policy, if they didn't have the employees on the payroll or hit those numbers, they get a credit and it comes back out of their pocket.
Absolutely.
Well, he said that insurance companies are going to start to not insure any home, at least locally here, if their roof is over 20 years. And this is one of the things that I teach people in our courses are that if you have a roof that's kind of borderline in its third phase of its life, right? Yeah. That your insurance company may make you prematurely replace the roof, or they'll drop you.
What we're seeing down there, it's minimum of 6 years life left, is what we're running into. It's like where the insurers will either have to have a roof replaced before closing, or they'll give the buyer 30, 60, 90 days after closing. Like they'll insure them,
right?
But then the roof will have to be done and re-inspected.
So the problem becomes people buy these houses, they get insurance because the adjuster doesn't necessarily go out.
Right.
Right. They don't send somebody out to look. People sign the dotted line. Yeah. They're committed to their mortgage. They get in and then they get a letter in a couple months.
They come out, inspect it, and it goes up $3,000.
Right. We're going to cancel your insurance policy.
Or it goes up a significant amount until they replace the roof or something.
Interesting.
That's happening. And,
interesting.
And what they're doing is they're randomly doing it now. It's not just certain. There's randomly out of so many deals, they're automatically re-inspecting, even if the inspection report was good.
Gotcha.
It's just the process that the insurance companies are doing now.
Yeah. Joe, go ahead. Pull up another question here. We have an income producing rental property. And by the way, these questions that we're pulling up to say 4 days ago, bring it up, is they're off of our last video together.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good.
Okay.
Good.
I figured, go through, we can talk about what some of these other people have commented.
Sure.
We haven't, and you're very good at replying to a lot of them too.
I try to. Yeah, I try to make time to do them.
We have an income producing rental property in a desirable golf community about 20 to 30 minutes from Orlando. Bought it brand new, and it's been constantly renting for the past 10 years. Thinking of selling it. Is this a good idea in this market?
It's always, it's hard to say. I mean, it's a case by case instance. It depends on what your goals are, right? I mean, it could be a good time to sell. Bad markets are good times to sell if you're getting the right buyer. The key is finding the right buyer who wants to be there and will pay the money to be there.
Let me tell you
good market or a bad market.
The problem with rental units that are income producing that aren't just one home.
Yeah.
The problem is who's going to buy it.
Right.
Who wants to buy it?
The person's going to pay you the most money is somebody's going to live in it.
Well, right. So an investor is going to buy an income producing rental property here, probably.
Right.
An investor, if it's and that's the question, is it a multi-unit or is it a single family home?
Correct.
Because a single family home is more valuable empty.
Yeah.
A multi-apartment building is more valuable rented at the highest possible rental rates with the longest leases because investors are buying cash flow, right? Yeah. So that would be my question for this.
Yeah, and my other advice too is, Todd's 100% correct. Whoever's going to buy that house, the buyer's going to pay the most money is going to be somebody who lives in it.
Yep.
For me as an investor, I'm staying away from single family properties. And I decided that after COVID. Single family were decent investments, but your risk level went through the roof. If you have a 3 or 4 unit, 5 or 10 unit property, you have multiple incomes. You have one roof, right? I mean, you still have heating systems, but your expenses are less. Plus, when people were able to put the forbearance and not pay you rent, if you have 3, 4 single family homes and they all don't pay you rent, I mean, you have property taxes on all of them. You have expenses on all of them. I mean, they didn't forgive the mortgages for that time. They forgave the rent. So I had a couple situations like that, and I said never again. And I'm just multi-unit, and that's it, or commercial.
I think the ship has sailed.
Yeah.
For real estate as an investment.
It's too high. The prices are too high. There's no cash flow.
Until we see a massive correction, and I'm talking about 50% price drops.
I agree.
It's not worth it because the cost, real estate is, and products, real estate related products and services make up about 35% of GDP. It is our economy. And when they're going over CPI numbers, they want to exclude housing related expenses. It's the most freaking expensive thing that we pay. And what people don't understand is these prices, the service prices and the product prices are not going to come down. What's going to come down are the real estate prices.
They have to.
Because people can't afford them. So you're buying these rental properties. It's very expensive to maintain and fix things. People don't treat it well most of the time. They destroy it. In fact, they cost you a fortune in turnover. And then what happens is you can't pass those costs along. So I have a lot of clients that, they're like, hey, if I get $500 clear profit a month, $6,000 a year, I'm good. And then it costs them $20,000 to do a turnover.
You see, you can't do that. The way you have to look at it is the rate of return, the cap rate, right? So if you have a property and you're getting 5-6% yearly on the profit, you could take that CD rate.
Cap rates
with no risk.
Yeah, you're right.
With no risk. If you can't make 7-8% of your money,
10.
I'm just saying,
that was the golden rule.
That was the rule before.
That was the double-digit cap.
But if you buy an investment property and you can't make 10% a year and have it paid off in 10 years, you shouldn't touch it. And that's the problem. People are thinking $500,000. They're not thinking, look, $500,000 in your pocket every month means nothing when an AC unit is 12 grand, right? You need to put a new AC in, 12 grand, right? Average. You need a new heater system. I mean, nothing's affordable now. So buying a single family home to invest in, for me, is gone. Like, unless I can get a 50% discount or something dirt cheap that I can fix up and just make money. But in general, to buy one at a retail level, you'd be crazy.
We're not even seeing the flippers engaging because you can't make any money. You're stupid if you're buying a house for a flip.
All those flippers are doing now, I get 15 calls a day on my listings. They want to partner. They want to take over the mortgage. They want to do the flips of the deeds. They're gone. Like, it's over. We have every day. Dude.
I know people that are in Baltimore City. Baltimore City is done. I mean, it is like zero activity, and price drops aren't even sparking an appointment. I mean, you can't even get people to go look at the houses. And so what's happening is these investors, they're panicking and they're like, man, I got to sell this. We're like, what are you going to do? They call up and they're like, hey, here's my situation. You're $50,000, $60,000 underwater on a $200,000 house.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. You're done.
You're done. They're like, well, I just want to break even. No.
The problem breaking even is no good because the insurance costs and the taxes going up and everything else. People end up losing money. Go ahead.
Let's look at a poll. We have a poll. We want to know, Phil, how low the house prices are going to go in Florida. We got 175 votes. 10 to 30%, 28% of you think, 41%, 30 to 50%. And I like that metric. More than 50%, 28%. So we got a tie. And then prices will skyrocket. Oh, where's your confidence, guys? At 3%. Nobody believes this, right? Nobody believes this. What's your guesstimate here?
Go back to our first video from a couple of years ago, 30 to 50%. Just like, I mean, listen, 2008, they dropped 50% some places. 2008, we had one problem, bad mortgages, right? They put the BC paper in with the A paper, collapsed everything, AIG and all that, the secondary market. Now, you got problems with that. You got problems with the employment. You got problems with the economy. You got the smoke and mirrors in the stock market. I mean, stock market's going up. There's no profits.
Hey, Joe, pull up that chart if you can.
It's crazy, man.
Showing the difference between the income. I want to pull this chart up.
There's a lot. There's a lot going on right now. So if it went down 50% before with just that problem with AIG in the secondary market and all that, just imagine.
That's nothing compared to where we are.
You look at any problems we have right now, and you look at one problem, and then 3 more pop up. And you look at those 3, and then 6 more pop up. You look at there's nothing that's real. It's smoke and mirrors, man.
What's happened is the exuberance of home buyers over the last couple of years outpaced their wallets.
And the other thing too, one thing I've been noticing too, the emotions are out of it. buyers who are really emotional and in the emotions in the purchase, it's more transactional now.
Look at this chart, Phil.
Wow. Yeah.
I'll explain this chart. This is a video I did last week. The first line, the bottom line, is median household income. All right. The bright blue on the left is from multiple sources because the St. Louis Fed, the Federal Reserve, didn't start picking it up until in 1984. Okay. And that's that green line. That is median household income. Now, what's the most significant about the median household income is that prior to 1971, a large percentage of households only have one person working in the home. Now, we don't just have one, we have two people working to make the mortgage payment and more because we have mom or dad or grandparents that are living in with them that have given them money, maybe, or that their Social Security checks are contributing to buying groceries or things like that. So we're way worse. But this is median new home sales prices, and look at that chart and how far away it is today from median household income. And when we started calling for this, when I started calling for this back in the spring of 2022, it wasn't because I had some kind of special intel as to what's going to happen in the future. It's because
it's logic.
I'm looking at these numbers and saying, and we're dealing with the clients and saying, guys, people can't afford this. Look, the reason why it got to this level was cheap money for investors flooding the market. They don't care. It's not their money they're using.
They're spending somebody else's. They're making the money on the transactions.
The other reason is because mom and dad were giving them $50,000, $100,000, and sometimes more in cash.
And it depleted the wealth.
Gift money.
It took the wealth.
To buy that overpriced house. And of course, here's what it wasn't because they were making more money, right?
When that house comes back down, that wealth evaporates. They just killed generational wealth. Now look at this. Look at 2003 to 2007, how that little bit of that bump caused the crash.
Well, that's not what caused the crash. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
but look at the spread. I'm saying, look at the spread of that, which
right.
With the bad mortgages, right?
Right.
Now look at the spread since then. It shot up. It leveled out with COVID, and then look at it again after COVID.
Well, here's what happened in 2019. We were headed straight to recession.
Right.
Home prices for the second time since post-World War II started to come down. That's what that line is. When you see that, if you look at any other time in history, and I could take this all the way back to World War II, if you look at it, and by the way, the significance of 1971 on this chart, home prices rose on average between 3 to 5% annually prior to 1971. And the reason that was good was because it kept up with salaries.
Yep.
People would get annual increases for inflation.
Sure.
And it kept the prices appreciating, which was a safety net for the lenders, the banks, right? It wasn't way out there, but it was a good balance to appreciate. So we use 4% in this whole chart. Had we stayed on a 4% year over year appreciation, home prices would be half what the median price is today, which is where they need to correct to.
They have to. And it's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. There's no way that spread can stay. People can't afford it. That price has to come down to that same spread. Like if you look at 2003, right before it hit that high, that's your spread right there. Those prices have to come down. Now, there's two options. The prices can come down to give the people that payment, or the rates have to come down to give the people that payment. The rates are...
There's a third option.
Go ahead.
Salaries would have to come up.
Well, salaries would have to go up. That's not happening, right? Money.
Break each one of them down.
The United States dollar is at the lowest level in years. Well, if rates come down, prices go up because inflation. They drop the rates, it's going to affect the prices.
It didn't help in 2007?
Right. Well, of course. So if they drop the rates, it's just going to make people able to afford the price. It's going to drag it out longer. So, because listen, if you buy a $450,000 house and you're paying 3%, or you're buying that same $450,000 house and you're paying 7%, you're talking $1,600, $1,700 a month difference. So by lowering the rates, the people will afford the payment. That's what most people are looking at. So that'll artificially keep the prices high. The rates have to stay the same. The prices have to come down to correct it. What's that mean? People are going to lose their wealth. People are going to lose their equity. That equity is really not there. It's inflated because of the free money and all the money that was used. The people giving the money to their kids. See, that was real money at one point. Because they put it into an asset that was falsely inflated, when that comes back down, which it's going to do, you could only fake it so long. You know?
Well, pull the chart back up again. So
that
what
has
happened?
To come back down to the 2003 level.
What happened in 2008 and 9? So 2006, we had the peak. What happened was home prices were about to come down to
the level they should be at.
The level that they should be, or or closer to it.
Right. Yeah, because you see, look, follow that line. If it wasn't for that.
But what happened was the Fed started buying mortgage-backed securities,
correct,
and it prevented home prices from going down.
Yeah.
Because they bought so many and dropped the mortgage rate, like you said. It was the worst mistake in history.
It just blew the
prior to the COVID era.
Yeah.
Because home prices accelerated when they dropped artificially suppressed mortgage rates.
Because of that payment.
It damaged the median income or the middle class so much that they prices continued to climb. And then when in 2019 started to dip, it was trying to correct again.
Yeah.
And what happened was they started buying mortgage-backed securities again.
Which they should have never done it.
It shot it straight up. Look at that vertical line, which is even further away.
So if they
from
do it again, it's gonna
it
happen
won't
again.
work.
It's gonna do the same thing.
It won't work.
So that line has to come back down to reality.
Yeah.
And what's gonna happen? A lot of people are gonna lose all their equity and everything they put into these houses, the gift money from their families, and it's gonna deplete their wealth.
The vintages of mortgages from 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 are going to be underwater.
Yeah, I agree. And you're going to see a lot of short sales. You're going to see a lot of people, they just can't do it. Even with the 3% mortgage, even with the low mortgages they have, even in the payments, they're just not going to be able to do it.
Thanks, Joe. All right, let's answer some more questions. Keep those questions coming. All right, here we go. The simple fact is insurance prices are not coming down to a level where folks can afford that due to the climate issues. When hurricane risks is uninsurable, the end result is folks will leave. Climate migration is real. Do you believe that all of this is related to climate?
I think that's insane. There's been hurricanes since before mankind, right? So recently we had some hurricanes, but people are still here. Well, it's still there. I'm not in Florida now. But listen, climate, people are in California, it burns. They're still in California. People want to be somewhere. They're going to migrate there. Do some people leave because of hurricanes? Yeah. But look, people have parties during hurricanes. Yeah, you got to understand. People, that's where they're from. That's where their families are. Look at New York City with all the craziness going on. I have clients in New York City that live there with all this. They have a communist coming in as mayor, right? So they're in New York, and they're still in New York. They're still paying taxes in New York. They're still living there because their family's there. Their whole family's always been from there. Their culture's there. Their friends are there. Their kids are there. To get them to move, the circumstances don't even get them to move under those circumstances. Yeah. So when you say climate, it's interesting. All the movie stars, all the politicians, climate change, Al Gore, right? Flying around on a private plane, putting out more gas than all of us driving. His mansion has his lights on 24 hours a day. He cares so much about the climate. The Obamas buy houses on Martha's Vineyard. The water's rising, right? What did they buy a house on the beach for? If they really believed it,
You're getting political.
No, because listen, both parties. Again, I always tell you, I'm not either way. Yeah. They're all criminals. You vote for who you want to rob you, right? That's whoever you want to reach in your pocket, you vote for. Doesn't matter what party. Oh. But the point I'm trying to say is, both sides look at their actions. If they believe the water's rising and things are going crazy, what are they buying beach houses for? What are they flying around on planes for? Why do they have a mansion? What do they heat a pool? right? Like, look at their actions. They could talk all they want. Why? Because it raises money. You know, it's money. It comes to money.
Well, I could tell you one thing. One of the reasons why home prices are so expensive is because of regulations.
100%.
And I'm not saying that we
100%.
shouldn't have regulations, but to your point,
The red tape, man.
yeah, it's
Try to build something.
yeah, and that's all
Yeah.
lobbying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what that
They're
is.
developing. I mean, there's parts of Florida they're developing. Even if you want to put affordable homes, I wanted to put a little project together outside Daytona Beach. There's lots of land. I mean, there's a developer that has land. It's already subdivided, ready to go. I had some investors together to put it together, and just the red tape. I could build these houses and probably sell them, like, for what I wanted to do. I could sell them at $275 and put a nice profit in my pocket. But by the time the red tape, the time, everything I had to do, I would have had to raise them maybe $325, $340 to make the same money because of all the stuff and the time involved and the money and the interest.
I know all about it.
And it's like they say one thing, the politicians, right? And then they do something else, just like they buy the house on Martha's Vineyard, they buy the house over there. What they tell you and what they do are the opposite. So if you really want
They tell
housing,
you what's going to put money in their pocket.
right? You want affordable housing, it's there. You could build a 1,200 square foot house, 3-2, sell them for $275 and make money if everybody didn't have their hand in the till.
Well,
But you can't do it because of that.
and the issue is, as a way for the builders and developers to make money, the builders have to build bigger houses because it's all based on square foot price.
Right.
So
Right.
and what happens
People
is
don't want
that
them
your
though.
costs go down exponentially the bigger the house you make.
Yeah.
Because you still have the same, pretty much. Maybe you add an extra outlet, or your switches are pretty much the same. Your light switches.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at a cost per square foot, it drops significantly the bigger the house.
Sure.
So that I want to know what we're going to do with all these big houses that no one can afford.
Listen, they're putting so many houses up. I know they say there's just shortage of housing. They say that. I mean, that's the numbers. I don't believe the numbers. Census numbers, I mean, come on. They're out there. I don't know. But the whole point of the matter is, I don't know who's going to buy these houses. These builders, I just got an email from Lennar in Orlando. New specials. They're giving X amount of dollars. They're giving 6% to the agents. They're giving this. They're giving that.
6%.
Yeah, they just bumped it to 6%.
To a buyer's agent?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
6%,
So
but,
a $300,000 house. an agent's
$18,000.
gonna make 18 grand.
18 grand.
So what they're doing is
just
they're
bringing
pulling
it
the
in.
agent. Convince your
2 years ago, they weren't giving. 2 years ago, they're giving you 1%. They didn't need you, right? They were giving the agents 1% to bring people because they didn't care.
That's
They were getting
Lennar.
deals. But now 6%. I just got the email as arriving here. I just got it. I just looked at it. But it's
you're
like
on the phone with all your buyers saying, "Hey, man,
Phones are ringing,
I
things
got
are
a great
going."
idea. You need to buy a Lennar home."
listen. My advice to buyers is don't buy unless you need to buy.
Yeah.
Unless you need to get a deal.
Austin, man, good to see you, Austin. Thank you so much for the super chat. I know you used to be on our Tuesday night lives a lot. Bill HB 913, that was signed into law into Florida, now permits HOAs to take debt without the condo members' consent to meet the state mandated reserve requirements. Wouldn't this just accelerate condo pricing downturn?
I think if you were buying a condo, you would seriously consider not buying a condo, which will eliminate your buyers, which will make your prices come down. And the HOAs. But the problem is, you go to Fort Lauderdale, you go to Miami, down in Brickell, everything's condos.
Condos are screwed, brother.
I'm telling you, they're
screwed.
not only that, you have the assessments, right?
Screwed.
He's talking about the loans for he's saying mandated service requirement. Yeah, the assessments. That's what he's talking about. So, I don't agree with that because, see, the laws, everything they did since this building collapse, and let's go back to that a second. The Champlain
horrible.
Towers that collapsed.
Yeah.
Horrible. People died. It was crazy. But something that nobody talks about, and I'm going to talk about it, is the fact that building collapsed was because the HOA in that building and the owners in that building kept voting down the repairs because they didn't want to pay the money. Right? Each unit had at one point it was $20,000. Right? They let it go. They voted against it. No. Then it was $30,000. Then it was $60,000. Then it was $100,000. And they kept voting down. Now the problem is you have people in these HOAs, no real estate experience, no building experience, no accounting experience, like nothing. They're just people who were voted into the HOA. My thing would be have people required, have somebody who has building experience. But here's the thing real quick with it. That building collapsed because they deferred the maintenance, not because the building collapsed because it collapsed.
You have no laws in Florida where you have to have an assessment of
you had to have
reserve study.
Well, no, there's laws for assessments and reserves. There's no law saying that you must. There were no laws saying you must mandatory fix it. It was up to the board to make the right decision to fix the property. And what happened was that kept getting deferred. The building fell. They sued for $1 billion. Now, when that building fell because of the deferment, that building wouldn't have fell if they didn't defer the concrete problem and all that. So what happened was they put laws out for all the other buildings who were doing the right thing or that are requiring more than what's really needed, and that's what's putting this pressure on the condo side.
Right.
So that's kind of, it's like a catch-22 there.
Right. They're taking on the debt to do these repairs.
Now
they're not allowing them to have these meetings where they could be turned down, which makes sense.
Right.
However, what people don't realize, I mean, condos are a bad deal altogether.
I would never own a condo.
It's horrible, right? Because you have a board of directors that of unit owners that, like you said, they have their own agendas, right? They get on the board to get certain things passed, and they screw everybody else. And what happens is you can't control the fees. And as people are foreclosed upon and they lose their units, then the other unit owners need to pick up the debt.
Yeah. And do you know, if you have your condo paid off or if you have a mortgage on it and you don't pay your condo fees, they can foreclose on you within 30 days.
30 days.
Within 30 days. You go on Broward County tax auction, the foreclosure site. You'll see condos worth $300,000 that are the auction bid starts at $12,500 or $15,000. And people are buying these condos out. And if they have liens, the banks lose.
That doesn't make sense. If foreclosure in 30 days in Florida,
condo and HOA foreclosures can be done in as little as 30 days in Florida.
Yeah.
And people don't even know it.
Well, the bank's not going to like that. If they are owned by, if they have notes on them, the bank's going to step up and pay the bill.
They're going to,
the
banks buy them, but it goes to auction. And you can, but the ones you have with no mortgage on them, people buy them up and take it. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Whoever can get them.
All right.
Yeah.
Austin, thank you. Be nice. What the thoughts if the Fed cut rates to and 10-year follows, will home prices go sideways, up or down? Go ahead. We talked about this, but
if they cut the rates, you're going to see a bump in prices because people will afford the payment. Now, what has to happen is the buyer has to say no. The buyer has to stop paying, is what has to happen. Because if the rates come down and the seller's asking the money and they're asking a little more and then the buyer's going to keep paying it, you're going to have that, right? They're going to keep going up. If the buyers stand firm and say no, that will control it. But if the Fed drops that rate, like we said, there's going to be a bump like you've seen on that chart. Every time there was a bump, rates go down, buyers come in. Now, what could affect that is the inventory, right? In Florida, we have, just in Stellar, there's 12, 13 homes hitting the market every 7 days. The buyers aren't there. The buying is down by the thousands. So if the inventory, that'd be interesting to see, Todd. Like if the inventory keeps growing when rates drop, it'd be interesting to see if the prices climb or fall.
Yeah, they're not going to climb.
Maybe stay flat.
Here's the deal. Houses are already priced at 2% and 3%.
Yeah.
That's why we got into this jackpot in the first place, right? So if you bring rates down, first of all, we're never going to see 2-3% again.
No, that was crazy.
That's not going to happen. Forget about it.
Can't
right?
happen.
If you look at the 50-year running average, mortgage rates have averaged 7.7% at a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. This is not cheap money.
No.
If you go back in the 30s and 40s, In order to buy a house, you had to put 50% down, and you had an interest-only loan for 5 years. That's it. There was no FHA.
And you had to keep refinancing it.
And what we've done, this artificial suppression of the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage has destroyed having a roof over your head. We have more people living in vans. We have more people living in RVs. We have more people living in tents. It's horrible, right? So let me tell you what's going to happen. What's going to happen is median household income is not going to go up that much. I don't care if you want to make a hotel worker $30 minimum wage.
Even if it does, the inflation is going to go with it. It's not going to do anything.
The problem exists is that, and we just had this conversation with Harry Dent, who's an economist, lives in Puerto Rico. I just talked to him yesterday. And one of the things that when I was talking to him about wage growth, and the fact of the matter is AI is going to take a hell of a lot of jobs. Look, there are people that say, if you use ChatGPT in your workplace today, it's going to replace you. It's not going to, and they say, well, no, because you need people to put it into ChatGPT. Yeah, one person, not 12, not 15. Right.
The title industry is going to be destroyed by that.
It's just going to crush everybody, right? In ways that we haven't even imagined. But here's the other thing. I mean, look, Uber, all these side hustles that really help people through this affordability crisis, their jobs are going to go away because we're going to autonomous cars. So, I mean, everything is going to, corporations are going to look to increase profitability by getting rid of people. Okay? Pay attention to that, right?
People are the biggest expense for a corporation.
Yes. So here's the thing. They're stuck. Because what if they drop rates, the only way that it would make sense, or that the Federal Reserve should drop or suppress, buy mortgage-backed securities, they don't suppress mortgage rates. How they do it is buying more mortgage-backed securities.
That's exactly what they do.
Quantitative easing, right?
Print the money.
So the 10-year Treasury, right, would have to fall drastically. But let's just say it does, okay? Let's just say it does. Unemployment, the only reason that would happen is if we saw 10% or greater unemployment. So that's gonna negate any kind of relief, because people aren't going to be buying homes because they're going to be scared of their job.
The home used to be the investment. That was your security. That was your safe haven, right? Homestead, right? They call it the homestead exemption. Like, they save it. You can't go bankrupt. You can keep it. The home is becoming a lot more of a liability than an asset in the world today. It really is. And you see the millennials, you see the young kids, they don't want to own a home. Their job is on the internet. They can do it wherever they want to go. I mean, I'm here in Pennsylvania. I have my agents down in Florida. I'm closing deals. I'm jumping on Zoom. I'm having my meetings. My agents are showing the properties for me. You know, the whole world has shifted. Everything has been condensed, right? And it's just, owning a home isn't what it used to be for the new generations coming up. And we're going to see that. They'd rather pay the rent. They have no headaches. They don't have to cut the grass. They don't have to do anything. They're in there. They're out there. They lock the door. They go to sleep. They're never home.
That to me is a tragedy.
And it's sick. It's sick.
That's a tragedy.
Because the way, to have a family, to have a place to call home, to build your wealth, to have an asset to give, right? But that mentality in America has changed. And I see it every day. Like I was saying before, there's no emotion.
I believe it's because they don't have a choice. So they're accepting it, because the baby boomers destroyed it for everybody. I mean, if you look at it, they were the ones that voted for this. Right? And because the reason is because they were able to buy something that they could afford, and they wanted that asset price to rise so much.
So they can,
right? So now you look at that and you go, okay, where's the opportunity for the millennials? It's going to come back. It's going to come back, because the millennials and Gen Zs are our future.
But between what you just explained, FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, influencing, making it easy to buy, 80-20 loans, 100% financing, 97% financing. Look, we're in real estate. Not everybody should own a home. They made it so easy for anybody to own a home.
But they're kicking them in the teeth with the price.
But listen, when you get an FHA mortgage, right? You get an FHA mortgage, you can put 3% down. Yeah, you get in there, but they bump the rate for this, they bump the rate for that, they hit you with PMI.
Money making racket.
It's not about helping people get into a house. It's about taking every dollar out of their pocket they can. PMI on FHA mortgage never comes off.
Private mortgage insurance
Never comes off.
is the most expensive insurance on the least amount of money. I mean, it's basically
PMI is covering that difference. If you put 3%, say you put I'm gonna use round numbers. Say you put 3%, say you put 5% down. That PMI insurance you're paying $170, $180 a month for only covers the 15% unit put down.
Right.
And then every year that goes down, but your PMI stays the same. And on that FHA mortgage, even after you pay down to 80%, that stays there unless you refinance or get another mortgage. So you're paying PMI insurance even after. So how great of a deal is that FHA mortgage for 3%? I say negotiate 2% from the seller and get a conventional mortgage because your rate's better anyway, right? But the whole thing with that is it's a scam.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, it's why pay that insurance payment ongoing forever? It's insane to go FHA.
Joe, pull that poll up one more time. Let's see if it's changed.
Yep.
How you like the view out of our window? Isn't that beautiful?
Is that Miami? Yeah, I'm home.
You're at home. All right, let's take a look here. Here we go. 366 votes.
That's right there.
Still 40% believe 30 to 50% price crash. We have more that believe 10 to 30%. If we want to go back to 2019, Harry Dent, and by the way, his video is coming out, I think it's this Saturday. Your video is coming out right now.
Yeah.
But Harry believes that we're going to go back to, I think he said, Joe, was it 2016 prices? Or 2012, right?
Can you pull that chart up quick? The one that had the skyrocketing with the median income.
Harry
where's he at on 12?
2012 price crash, back to that delta.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when you look at a 50% price crash would really only take us back to about 2019.
Yeah, 12's a number. Look at it. That's if you go back to 2001. Look, the 12 is in 2001. You see where it would be. If that line just went straight along without those bumps, that number is right where
exactly.
That's where it belongs.
That's what he said.
If there was no smoke and mirrors and there was no manipulating markets and people doing whatever they're doing where they can, it would be right along that line, just like everything else.
Exactly.
And that's where it should be.
Yeah.
But all the manipulation led us here.
And if we had median household income that were traveling along, let me tell you why this chart's up. You know what happened in 1971?
70. I wasn't born.
Do you know what happened?
No, was that the gold? That's the gold, right?
Yeah,
yeah. The gold.
Nixon
when they took the gold,
finally removed the U.S. from the gold standard.
Yeah.
And look at that 1971 line.
Yeah.
Right. So look here.
That's all the fiat.
What I was saying is that
fraud.
homes appreciated anywhere from 3 to 5%. That orange line is I calculated at 4% year over year appreciation for a home.
Yeah.
Right. That's where the price would be half of what it is today.
But that's where the manipulation started.
So here's it started once they figured out a way that in order they could print more money without buying more gold.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then the student loan concept, the whole student loan thing.
Oh yeah.
Bank build them up, and it all started there, man.
All right, let's take another question. All right. Please stop having Phil on the show to talk about Florida. Hey, look, we're going to have fun with this one. He's stuck in Jacksonville. Actually, he's in Baltimore right now.
I was in Philly. I'm all over.
Baltimore. We'll get you unstuck from Jacksonville. And doesn't have a clue. You're clueless, Phil. Of what's happening in Northport, Cape Coral. I wasted my time. All this was him showing off his new bar. Now, before you respond, I want to defend you because I pulled up the charts here. So let's take a look at the first one, Northport. This is how you didn't have a clue what was going on.
Yeah, right.
Right now, in 1 year, prices are down 9.3%. All right, and go ahead and scroll down on this thing or scroll up, whatever you want to call it. Here we go. Look at this. Whoa.
I'm telling you, man.
Look at this, huh? And by the way, 77.1% of sales have sold in April. So it closed somewhere in May and June. Remember, the sales date back 30 to 60 days.
Corey.
But you're looking at right here, 77.1% didn't sell for list price. But look at that price decline. You didn't know what you were talking about in Cape Coral. Now go ahead and defend yourself.
Yeah, listen. I just want to thank the guy for watching the whole video for the last 30 seconds where I talked about the bar. Thank you for watching the video. He paid really good attention.
He
man.
made it to the end, man.
That's
tell
my
you what,
teaching
email
skills.
me. I'll send you a water bottle.
That's
pretty cool.
That's my
water
teaching
bottles.
skills. keep him in the drink.
Bring the other
listen,
area up. There you
listen.
go. He sent me an email. The guy that wrote that comment. You made it to the end of the video. I'll send you a water bottle.
Listen. The bottom line with that. If people knew what was happening, and if people had a clue, there would never, ever, ever be a crash.
Yeah.
People are always going to be emotional based. People are always going to make
They
mistakes.
sound like real estate agents. I bet you that commenter was a real estate agent.
Probably closed 2 deals in his life.
Yeah. Cape Coral. And by the way, I think we're on track to do like 4 million in sales. If we take mid-year, we're about on track to do about 4 million in sales with about 1.5 million agents. How's that going to work?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm doing that next month.
The cleansing that we've been talking about that
what I do
is a good thing.
What I do want to share real quick with them is I'm closing a deal on the 21st of July. The asking price was $349. It was $349. We offered them $300. It's been on the market a while. They accepted it, no counter. They took the $300. We ended up. It started at $349. They dropped it to $329. We offered them $300. They took it. That's where it was. After the inspection, we got another $5,000 credit.
You just said this earlier.
Yep, I was telling you earlier.
You said it online.
The appraisal came in $342. Did I say it online?
Yeah, you just told everybody that.
Did I? I thought it was before.
Come on, man. You're
Anyway,
younger than me, and you're losing your
I don't know.
mind.
I thought I told you before. Did I? I don't know. So yeah, no.
Pull up the.
but this. Okay.
All right, so
Also,
they got switched around. All right. Well, wait a minute. Is this still off the last comment?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So let's
yeah,
look at. So we already did what? All right. So let's
Northport
go to
dropping.
the top. Let's look at the top of Northport. Are you sure? What are they both around 9% dip down?
They're about that. Yeah.
About the same. So. Okay. All right.
cool.
So Northport, Florida. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's the second part of Phil not knowing what he's talking about. Look at these price declines. Yeah, and guys, again, 69.1% of sales under list price.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And this is the problem. The problem is because the agents want you to react, man. They want you to buy. You better buy now. You better buy now.
Yep.
So I had one of my agents said, you know what? We got a house under contract, and it had been on the market for months and months and months and months. And the agent said once our client's offer came through, the agent said, "Oh, well, we have multiple offers."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
The house has been up and down, and you have multiple. Now all of a sudden we put an offer and you have multiple offers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It can be true.
It can be, but it's highly unlikely.
What I think
Unlikely.
and what I think it was is they got a postcard in their mailbox that said, "I'll give you 50 cents on the dollar for what you think your house is worth."
That's their offer.
All right, let's do another question.
Yeah. We got a clue.
we got a postcard. We got an offer. All right, Najib, how can we buy without an agent? Because I'd rather pocket the 3%, and I don't want to be lied to every step of the way. Now, I'm going to tell you, you can go, I'll plug my new course I'm really proud of. I'm telling you guys, it's $300 for the course. I'm offering a 10% discount code. It's in the show notes, or discount code is TODD, TODD, all caps, save you 10%. This is 14 lessons. I promise you, you are going to get so much value out of this video. You're going to save thousands of dollars along the way. If anything, you're going to save that money by avoiding the mistakes that we've watched people make. The agents should watch this. I'm not just saying it because I did this course. This took me probably a good solid year and a half to put this together. Watch the course. What I do is I teach people how to represent themselves. I'm not advocating that you don't have good representation. Please don't understand that. I believe that if I were representing you it would be better than you representing yourself. And Phil would probably say the same thing about himself.
Yep.
But I'm telling you right now, if there's a way, buyers out there, if you're going to hire a bad agent, you may as well do it on your own. If you're not, and you may as well, and I teach you how to address the listing agent, how to write your offers, how to negotiate, because if you can take that money, if you're already seeing home prices decline, and let's just say you're buying a $400,000 house, and let's just say your commission, if you had to pay for a buyer's agent out of your pocket at 3%, let's just say that is $12,000. Imagine if you got the deal that Phil just discussed, where you had a $350,000 house for under 300, and then you could take that additional 3% potentially off of that price. That would make a big difference in your bottom line. Now, before all the agents get pissed off and start lighting up the comments, look, take this course yourself.
Yeah.
It will probably be one of the best trainings that you've ever had so far. It's going to teach you what to look for, not just like every house is perfect for you. Oh, I had a client one time said to me, they said, Todd, after she fired her agent, I had nothing to do with that. She was a referral. And she fired her agent, came to me, and she told me after we were walking through the houses, she wanted my opinion. I have a brain. I don't care for this. I don't care for that. This is going to need to be updated. This is going to need to be, which I cover in my course, what to look for. A big thing that people don't realize, electrical panels. And they want to put a hot tub in the back, or they don't realize there's aluminum wire, it's a fire hazard, right? So I teach people what to look for because their agent doesn't have a clue.
Right.
And
if the inspector misses that, they're in trouble.
Well, the inspector, why even get to that point?
Right.
Because then you've wasted $1,000.
Yeah, of course.
You've hired, you got a contract on a house, it's going to fall apart. I'm teaching you what to look for before you even spend any money.
Right. Priceless.
And here's the thing. So if you're an agent out there, you know what you're doing. People say, well, I'm not responsible for being an inspector or being this and that. No, but you're responsible for giving professional advice and professional opinion. That's what you can do in a fiduciary position where you represent somebody. It's not, but this client said to me, after we looked at a half a dozen houses, you know what she said to me? She said, Todd, every house that we looked at, if I had my prior agent, would have said, this is the perfect house for you.
Yeah.
Because that was their go-to line.
I want to answer his question too. So you're better off going yourself at it than hiring a bad agent, a mom's friend, a neighbor. When you hire an agent, look them up, make sure they close deals, make sure you know what they're doing. And I'm going to give you an example. I just closed a deal on Orange Park, Red Oak Lane. There was an agent from another brokerage, pretty popular. You don't want to say the brokerages, right? Yes, another brokerage. They were a flat fee agent for the seller. I had the buyer. They loved the house. Okay. We put the offer in, $25,000 under. And I put in, requesting a percentage for my commission. I'm not going to say there's no set percent.
Yep.
They refused to pay me a penny, which the buyer would have had to pay me my commission. The buyer was okay with it. But I said, let's take a shot at this. We went in, did the inspection, everything. Okay. After the inspection, the house was a 1970s build, all redone, brand new roof. The pipes weren't done. The cast iron, the iron pipes weren't done.
Sewer line.
The sewer line out, but the inside was already PVC. They switched it over. It was the cast iron pipe, so they had to do the outside. So what we did, they knew it. So what we did, we went back for 5% seller contribution and got it. The seller's listing agent told me they're getting divorced and the guy was moving back to Peru or somewhere. So I knew they needed to sell. It was on the market almost 6 months. So I got them an extra 5% off the price of the house. So we already got 20 grand off. We got another 5% off the house. Of that 5%, they paid me my commission and kept the rest.
Yeah.
Then we got them the $18,000 credit from the state of Florida. She got $5,000 back at closing. She got her deposit back and a $1,200 credit off her mortgage because she couldn't get any money out. Ended up getting the house for almost $60,000 under appraisal because of that. Yeah. That's where a good agent, that's where a good broker comes in to be able to feel that out, negotiate that. So going with a bad agent, you keep the 3% in your pocket. Finding the right agent who knows what they're doing, I just explained to you what you make in your pocket.
Well, yeah,
$60,000.
and you negotiate with your agent too.
And exactly,
you don't just right. You don't just lay down.
Negotiable.
And one of the things that I teach in the course also is making sure that you have certain things in your buyer agency agreement. Because here's the deal, guys, and what a lot of people don't realize here is, an agent will give you a form, a buyer agency form. And by the way, all 50 states now, you have to sign a contract to have a buyer's agent, including DC. And basically now they have these third-party forms. This is not the gospel, all right?
Nope.
You don't have to use that form. You can cross things out and write things in.
Yeah.
Now the broker may not accept it, and fine, you find a broker that will. But there are certain things that you must have in your buyer agency agreement. And I teach those things because, and one of them is negotiating. And you have to, as a buyer, you have to know, how much are you doing? Because most of the time now you're finding the home yourself.
Yeah, it's Zillow or somewhere and they say, I want to find it.
The heftier real estate commissions through the years were because you actually, the agents had to do a lot more than what they do today. Now you find the home, you go to the open house on your own, you call the agent and say, can you write this up for me? What the heck?
It's true.
And if your agent is stupid enough to do it without seeing the house, then you should have never had that agent in the first place. I had a deal on a house. I was a listing agent, very hot listing. Agent called me up and said this, is it worth writing an offer on?
It's crazy, right?
You have that happen?
It's crazy all the time.
Is it worth writing an offer? I'm like, well, what do you think?
We'll write it.
What did you? I said,
what are you talking?
Oh yeah, my client came through in the open house. It's true. This happened. Client came through in the open house, and they want to write an offer, and I just didn't know whether it was worth doing it because it's going to take a while to write the offer, and I didn't know how many offers you had or whether it was worth it. And I said, well, what was your client's name? Because I make everybody register. And he told me, and I looked down, and it said, do you have an agent? And they said yes. They didn't write the name because I asked for the agent's name. But the thing is I said, but did you come and see it? And the agent said, I don't have to see it. Well, yes, you do. You need to be the procuring cause, you idiot. Go and see the freaking house for your client. You want to write it up and get some massive commission check, and you don't have the time to get your butt in a car and go drive down and look at the freaking house? This is the kind of stuff.
And that deal's going to fall apart because the deal's no good. Something's going to happen. They'll cancel. Like, it's just.
This is why our business is going like this.
Yeah.
Boom.
It is.
And then one day the agents are going to be like, I don't understand. I'm not making any money.
Well, they should get out of the business.
Well, go figure. You're too lazy to get in a car and drive to see a house that your client went to in an open house.
It's crazy, man. Crazy stuff.
All right. Can AI take over the real estate appraisal business? Terry, I believe that
it already has.
It is. I think they're using a lot of AI calculations.
The last 2 buyer deals I had waived the appraisal. The bank waived the appraisal on the last 2, and they were both in Jacksonville. The buyer didn't have to pay for an appraisal. There was an appraisal waiver. There was a fee for that, but nowhere near an appraisal. So I think they're using a lot of the AI and a lot of the, what the technology is. I believe they are.
Yeah, and that's probably, and the thing is, so I had Blaine Fine on. He's an appraiser, and he also teaches appraisers. Very smart guy. What had happened was back in the day, prior to '08 and prior to Dodd-Frank and all that stuff, banks would have their in-house kind of like group of people, that appraisers they would use all the time, that would magically come up with a number no matter what it was. Like, we need this house to appraise for, this is how much the contract was for. And then they would all of a sudden match that. Well, then they started using third-party service providers that would farm it out to the appraisers, and
you never communicated with them.
But now the problem is they're going back to the old ways.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
He said that it's cheaper, and they're trying to shave costs, and these lenders don't want to use these third parties anymore. Right. And now it's starting to get back to the crookedness that it was.
You're gonna have some problem, and you're also gonna have, when people are refined to do debt consolidation, you're gonna have that going on a lot too. A lot, because they're gonna want to consolidate that debt, and they're gonna need that appraisal to get it under that number. You're gonna see that happening a lot again, man. I thought the Dodd-Frank law, I thought that had something to do where you couldn't.
Now they have a way around it or whatever they're doing. But yeah,
man.
he said that they are actually going back to the old ways.
Yeah, that's bad.
And where these lenders have their own little group of appraisers that they give them out to. And here's the problem: if you are killing deals as a home inspector, the agent won't use you anymore.
Right.
If you're killing deals as an appraiser, the lender won't use you anymore.
Right.
So their business.
So it's a fine line to walk.
Their business is being destroyed.
Yeah.
My attorney told me that he was representing an agent at the real estate commission, where the claim was water penetration in a basement. We have basements here in Maryland.
Yep.
Some states don't. You don't in Florida.
Florida, no.
And but basically there was water penetration, and the inspector testified and said they asked the inspector whether he had one of those devices to detect moisture in the wall, and he said yes. And they said, "Did you use it on this house?" And he said no. And that the agent said that if he ever pulled it out again on a deal, that they wouldn't use him anymore. The agent wouldn't use him anymore.
But that's the inspector's fault doing that. You can't do that. I mean, they're both at fault, but an inspector can't. Yeah.
But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's nuts.
You know that. They're called deal killers.
Yeah, but the thing is,
inspectors are called deal killers.
Yeah,
you're not going to get the deal killer.
But it's got to be done right, man. I mean, there's ethics there, man. You can't.
Well, what happens is you got to shop for your own freaking inspector.
You know something I always do? I'll go online, wherever zip code is, and I'll get these certified inspectors, and I give them 3 of them. You know, the certified ones are all good. They pay a fee. They're part of a membership. They're solid.
I don't know, dude. They might have some 25-year-old that took a course.
No,
they don't know anything about houses.
And here's what I tell them. Here's 3 companies, and I make sure I check the Google reviews, make sure there's at least 100 reviews. And I say, here's 3 companies. They're all certified. And I'm not involved in the decision, but I'll send them an email saying, hey, here's the 3 companies. And I don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't even want the inspection.
Yeah,
you know?
I disagree with that. I think that if you ask a buyer if they have a home inspector, I'm going to still give them 2 or 3, but I'm going to give them 2 or 3 that I know is going to do the best job for them, and they're going to have construction background and construction knowledge. I'm not going to get some some punk that's afraid to get dirty or crawl up through an attic or a crawl space or whatever. And then the other thing is very important, which a lot of people don't realize, is that you have to make sure that listing agent knows to pull all the furniture away from the walls. Because a home inspector, even the good ones, are not allowed to move stuff. And they're not allowed to unscrew like crawl spaces. So as an agent, or what I teach my students in my course, is you have to be proactive. I give them worksheets. They fill it out on the property. Look for this. Look for that. Is there a crawl space? Is it locked? Is it screwed shut?
Every agent should take that. Every agent should buy that course.
They should watch this course. But here's the thing. You have to let that listing agent know, if you screw this up, we're going to delay this, and we're going to want more time for our inspection, and you're going to pay for the next inspection for them to come out again, because I've asked you in email, and even if you're not represented by an agent, you send that listing agent an email saying, please remember, the crawl space, the attic access, everything has to be free and clear, that my inspector can access this property, because they're not allowed to move stuff.
And those inspections are $600 or $700 now.
At least.
It's not $300-$400 anymore.
And when you get into the deeper stuff like chimneys and roof inspections and doing HVAC inspections, which you should have, not the home inspector, right? You get an electrician in to check things out. Right, so you add this up, you could spend a couple $1,000s doing your due diligence on a house that you're probably overpaying for. At least make sure you do your due diligence and know what your costs are going to be.
Not get stuck.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead. Let's keep going. All right, politics have a lot to do with the exodus and their effect on insurance, taxes, job availability. If you don't have a good labor laws, you don't attract good employees. Is this happening in Florida?
Florida's a right to work state. I mean, if the politics in Florida are chasing them out, they should leave. Florida's the freest state in the country. You know, you have opportunity there. You can do anything. It's so easy to open a business there. You know, it's business minded. I mean, what politics are chasing people out of Florida?
Well, you have to answer that.
I don't know. I don't know. Anybody coming to Florida is because of the politics mostly. You know, I don't know of anything that would chase people out of Florida. I don't know. I mean an example.
How about the fact that you can't get good paying jobs?
Listen, most of the people in Florida are self-employed. Most of the service industry.
They don't have employees?
No, there is. Yeah, entertainment, hospitality, medical. They don't pay super well. But most of it, I mean, if you...
Do they pay enough to buy a home?
Nah, not really.
Well, that's a problem.
But it's everywhere. It's not just Florida.
So would that fall under politics?
How would that be politics? I mean, it's not. That's just supply and demand. That's capitalism. I mean, politics. I mean, politics to me. You look at politics that make it. Look at. You have blue states. You have red states, right? You have different ways of taxation.
And most of the red states have blue cities.
Right. Well, yeah, sure. That's exactly. But look at the taxation. Look at the taxation policies in Florida, income tax, things like that. Nothing there would chase anybody out. You have no income tax.
Right? How about property taxes?
Property taxes, yeah. I mean, property tax.
How about insurance costs?
Insurance costs? Is that politics?
No.
No, that's just reality. That's just insurance companies. Maybe the regulation of them.
Maybe the insurance companies are lobbying to get their, I mean, come on, that's politics.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on with the new law changes that's getting rid of a lot of the lawsuits is actually bringing insurance companies back. I'm surprised they're not talking more about that to publicize that. You know, you think they would be, because it would be helping the conversation.
Crazy.
But I don't know. I don't think politics. I mean, I'd like to know like what they were referring to politics.
Well, maybe they're a Democrat.
Maybe.
They don't want Republican politics. All right. None of this applies to the Panhandle, Panama City Beach, and this is the second fastest and growing metro. So here we go again. Let's defend him. Let's look at Panama City Beach.
In Alabama too, so I know. So
let's look at Panama City Beach.
I mean, Orange Beach is like going off the map.
Well,
going in Alabama.
Yeah. This is.
I'm curious to see the numbers. No, all right.
All right, he's going to pull it up.
We'll get it. But yeah, so with sixth fastest growing metro by percentage of growth. Here he goes with the stats again. We're experiencing.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, look at this. 7.1% down so far, and let's get down to the metrics. Panama City. There you go. Look at that.
Look at that.
Boom. And by the way, I mean, Florida, for the most part, is back to 2022 prices.
Yeah. It's
already.
Going down, man.
88.7% commenter of the sales in April were under list price. I promise you that's getting worse, not better. So, yeah.
Can I say my line?
Look up your, yeah, go ahead. Line?
Facts don't lie, people do.
All right. And this is that, I mean, maybe we have a,
numbers
I don't
don't
know,
lie, man.
maybe, yeah, we'll see. All right. If Florida is full of homeowners that are servers, and this is a comment that goes along to what I just asked, are they making enough to buy houses? I'd like to know the last transaction Phil did, or the percent of transactions that was head of household or a couple servers. Nope. It's 100% professional skilled.
My last transaction were people moving from Minnesota to Jacksonville. And my next one is people upgrading from rentals to Orange Park, and one is going to Jacksonville as well. Actually, no, Fernandina Beach. But he proves the point. Servers aren't buying property. Servers aren't. They're renting rooms and they're roommating, or they're renting apartments and roommating. The people who are buying right now are people who are coming to Florida, people who are downsizing, getting divorced, or have something in life. So, give you an example. My next closing is someone who is divorced, been renting a while, and is finally buying a place. My other buyer, who's closing a couple weeks after, in July here, is someone who's been renting for a year, looking for a place, came into an inheritance, and are using that to put money down and buy a house. Young couples getting married aren't buying a house right now. Okay? My marketing, my advertising to people, I advertise to the people I want to sell to, or I want to represent as buyers. The market right now, the only people buying are people going through life changes, people passing away and inheritances they need to sell or buy or consolidate. And, like I said, divorce, the life changes, and downsizing.
People moving out.
Or people coming to Florida, which has gone down 70%. So this comment here where, are servers buying houses? I don't know. Are they buying them in Milwaukee? Are they buying them in Philadelphia? No, servers don't buy houses.
They're buying them in Baltimore.
Right? Servers? Yeah.
We have some of the most expensive restaurants around.
But no, I'm just saying. I mean,
depends on where they're serving.
I have a bar and a restaurant. I've been in the bar and restaurant business all my life. Okay, I just bought the one. Maybe this guy's gonna get mad I'm talking about it. I'm sitting in the bar the other night, and the two bartenders working the night, they split $400 a piece. I'm just watching. I mean, it's not that bad to be a server, no tax on tips, right? But But the point I'm trying to make is, taking shots like that.
I think it's a valid comment, because if we think of Florida, we think of the Sunshine State and snowbirds. We think of wealthy people or retirees that have gone to Florida, that made Florida what it is. They moved there, and what happened was they could all afford to go out, and they could tip and they could do things, and the servers. And the servers had jobs. Yeah. Now people aren't tipping as much because they don't have the money.
Right.
So now you've basically killed off the ability to make it affordable for retirees to come to Florida.
Yeah, that's not the affordability.
And there's no other jobs.
Yeah. The affordability is killed. Service industry.
And there's no other jobs.
And Disney's down like crazy. Disney's hurting.
They laid a bunch of people off.
Yeah, Disney's hurting. I mean,
who has $5,000 to take your family to a Disney vacation?
Try 10, 15, man. It ain't no 5,000 anymore. Nope. It's insane. But
all right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. I make almost $200K a year and can't afford to buy a 2-bedroom apartment in the area where I live in Miami. It is way cheaper to rent.
It is cheaper to rent in Miami by about $1,000 to $1,500 a month. It is. It's always been that way though too. Miami, I don't know. It's
cheaper to rent almost everywhere.
It's people parking money. That's really.
And here's the thing where a lot of people will combat this. They say, well, it's not cheaper to rent, and it is. And one of the commenters commenting on what I said is that they said, well, you're basically being an idiot saying that it's cheaper rent because landlords that are absorbing these higher costs are just raising the rent to cover it, and that's not true. You can't just cover costs because you had to replace the heating and air system. Number one, people are locked into leases. Prices are coming down on rents. And if somebody's renting, they don't have to do any repair costs. They don't have to pay the mortgage payment, which includes homeowners insurance and property taxes. You can only charge market rate rents. No one is going to feel sorry for you because your costs went up 30 or 50% to maintain a home. And if you don't maintain it, no one's going to pay your rent. And you're going to go down the tubes.
And speaking to that too, first thing I do with a buyer when they're buying a house or a condo or whatever they're buying, I say, look, here's what these rent for. God forbid you lose your job and you got to rent it out and not lose it. You got to make sure your all in is at least going to cover, why you want to buy something that's you can't rent for the money.
Are we good with your buddy on to get him to the airport?
I don't know.
Are we still cool?
What do we got going on with you weren't not able to switch it? You can't switch it, right? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Right,
I didn't think so.
All right, well, we'll get going here.
Yeah,
Phil's got to take his buddy that came with him back to Philly.
Yeah. What I can do
Philadelphia Airport and the Baltimore Beltway in 95 is going to take you 16 hours to drive there. You said it was an hour and a half.
That's what the GPS said.
Well, at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, what I'll do is I'm in town up here to the 17th. So maybe when I come back down, things go well, maybe I can come back and we do it again.
Pass through, yeah. Let's answer a couple more questions. All right, guys, we appreciate you. Let's pull up one more time on the poll, and we'll answer a couple more questions.
Yeah. Let's see what the poll we got.
See what this poll says. Lots are changing, guys. Prices, I'm telling you, it is eerily slow out there. I mean, it is. You drive around, it is crazy. There isn't a lot of activity. It feels like something isn't right right? We're starting to see in a lot of neighborhoods, grass is growing, it's not being cut. Decay on the fascia boards, the siding's blowing off in some of these situations. In some of these neighborhoods, distress is really showing up. We still think 510 votes that home prices in Florida are going to crash 30, 50 to 50%. All right, a couple more questions here, and we'll let Phil get out of here. I considered a condo in downtown Jacksonville. This is in your backyard. Yep. There are a couple nice units for sale. Then I saw the HOA dues are between $850 and $1,300 a month.
Crazy.
Is that true?
There are some. There are.
Crazy.
The assessments and the reevaluations and
how
insurance.
expensive are these homes that are for $850 to $1,300 a month? What's the price point?
We're probably talking between $475 and $875. $475 to $875.
In the sweet spot,
depending where they are.
And they're getting whacked. You buy a $470 or $500,000.
That's not the permanent. It's just because of the assessments. That's the temporary, maybe for the next 2 or 3 years, and it'll come back down
until the next disaster.
But it's until the next problem.
They're not giving that money
but
back.
That's not. Yeah, that's not a permanent. And don't get me wrong. There's some on the beach, $4,000 a month. Go to Fort Lauderdale. There's $13,000 a month association fees.
Yeah, but they're multi-million, $15 million condos and stuff. Yeah, you would expect that.
But this here, this shouldn't be this.
That's mismanagement, stupidity.
They have to get the reserves up, and they have to get the insurance. The insurance is tripled, so they have to cover the insurance policies. Yeah. And these are the things that they're talking about. The comment about not having votes to up it. That's what they're talking about.
I have a feeling that buyers are not getting excited about this kind of stuff. It's going to kill the value.
The values are going to fall. The sellers are pissed.
Buyers are not getting excited about this stuff.
No, not at all.
All right, what else we got? Median price is not the average price. High-end houses skew the average. Yep, we know that.
Yeah.
All right, Phil. Well, look, man.
Water's wet.
It is awesome to have you here, buddy.
Yeah,
in person.
I'm glad to be here, man. Yeah. It's really cool. Great studio, great people. Everything's great, man.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you.
And if you like, I'll swing back through it if you want me to.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We'll pick up where we leave off here.
Definitely. Don't check out Phil's links are in the show notes if you want to follow him or send him an email. You get a lot of inquiries. You get a lot of business from podcasting with me.
I do. So. You know what it is, Todd? When you're transparent, you tell the truth. Some people like you, some people don't like you. But people that see the value of what I bring to the table, it's the same for you. What people know when they see what they need. And the problem is, everybody out there, 90% of them are terrible. So when they finally find somebody that's accurate and knows what they're doing and get deals done, they latch on. I become friends with them. They call me. I don't need a deal. I'll help them. I don't care. I give them the right advice. I'm transparent with them, and if I can help them, I help them.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching and tuning in with us on this Thursday afternoon. And one of the biggest compliments you could do for us would be to share our channel with your family and friends. You can hit the share for this video. You can send it to anyone that you know. And also, you want to check out my course, my Todd Simple Home Buying course. We're offering a 10% discount. Again, the code is Todd, and the checkout it's $300, save you $30 off at checkout. We also made it a way for you to gift this to your family and friends. So if you have one of your kids or your grandkids that would be interested in buying a home, this is priceless, in my opinion. It's the largest the largest purchase that most people make in their entire lifetime. So,
the agent should buy it.
Yep.
Agents should buy it and learn from that.
Don't get offended when I say save the money without having an agent. Yeah. If you're an agent, don't be offended by that. Use it and help to improve you.
Yeah, tremendously. Going through that will improve your whole process of dealing with your clients. And you really, for $300, it's a deal. Take it.
$270 with the 10% discount.
$270. How about that?
That's right. Anyway, guys, we love you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Sachs Realty, Maryland broker number 607720, office number 443-318-4514.